I'm Amy Odell, and welcome to the Back Row Podcast. My guest today is Taylor Lorenz. Taylor, as I'm sure many of you know, is a prolific tech journalist after working for years at publications including The Atlantic, The New York Times, and The Washington Post. She is now an independent journalist creator just like me. She writes a newsletter, hosts a podcast, and has her own YouTube channel. Taylor, it's so good to see you.
Thanks for having me.
Taylor is the author of User Mag and the Power User podcast, and you can find her on YouTube at Taylor Lorenz. Okay. I will put all of that in the show notes too. But Taylor, I wanted to talk to you because I went to Fashion Week in September and I kept hearing from designers behind the scenes, like this would never be said publicly, but people are just annoyed by social media. And maybe everyone in general is annoyed by social media. I think that there's kind of some resentment toward people who are talking about fashion in videos who are just kind of coming out of nowhere. Is this just happening everywhere?
Yeah, I think what's happening in fashion is just happening across the entire media landscape. This broad disruption of traditional journalists, fashion, tech journalists, climate journalists, think of it, health, really business, anything you can think of under the sun. People are now turning more to average users and regular people and professional content creators to get their information and their analysis. And as you mentioned, most of these content creators don't have any sort of credentials or background in the industries that they're talking about. And that's actually what people like about them.
Yeah. Why do you think that is? I just explain how algorithms work, because I guess I don't even really know. Like, it's supposed to show me stuff that I like, but I don't like the stuff that I see.
Well, algorithms, most of them on social media these days are optimized for engagement above all else. So they will constantly show you things that you don't like because you engage with them more heavily. If it makes you angry or frustrated, that is engagement. So they think that that is a positive signal, unfortunately, to these social media algorithms, which is a huge problem.
Being annoyed.
Yeah, if we had a less profit-driven social media ecosystem, that would be a lot better. But just back to what you're asking before of why do people like people with no credentials or no background? I think it's just more the relatability factor and the fact that people don't really trust credentialism. They don't trust people from institutional powers. In the tech world, they think that they're just in bed with the tech industry. I think in the fashion world is probably the same, where they really want people that they feel like are more on their level or more relatable to talk to them in a way that feels more peer-to-peer instead of top-down.
Do things surface because of SEO? Like if someone is on a red carpet and then a creator's like, oh my God, Jennifer Lawrence in Dior. Like, does it just not even matter what they say that they'll surface because they hit it at the right moment?
I think so much of success online is just saying the right thing at the right moment and hopping on trends. So hopping on whatever everybody else is already interested in and talking about and just riding those waves over and over again. It's so funny. I literally had a meeting with one of these big social platforms yesterday. And this is exactly what my partner manager was saying to me to do, was like, you're doing too much journalism. You need to start riding the trends and start talking about the things that people want to hear about. And that, I think, is what a lot of really good content creators excel at. And often they'll do like the first video on something, or they'll just be first to sort of weigh in. And so it's that timeliness that just puts them ahead of maybe people that wait a minute or want to fact check information before, putting it out there.
So you have to be that so fast you can't even fact check it.
I think, yeah, a lot of times if you put stuff out before fact checking it, you do have that benefit of being early or first. And so your video will just go viral, whether it's true or not.
Yeah. Well, facts, I guess, matter less and less, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Right?
I feel like people don't care about the facts. I mean,
I know.
they just want to be sort of validated.
I'm such a nut. Like with my books, like I fact check everything to death, as I'm sure you did too.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter. Nobody cares.
It doesn't matter. Nobody cares. Okay.
It's so frustrating. I know it really, I don't think that's good for society. I think it's bad. Most people just want their ideas validated and they don't like to be challenged in any way. They do not want to hear. I mean, in tech, it drives me crazy because in tech, I cover moral panics a lot. And you're speaking about social media. Social media is toxic and bad for a lot of reasons why people feel. It's mostly the sort of hyper-capitalist nature of our tech landscape, the fact that we have no data privacy, and so these platforms and algorithms can target us relentlessly. Now, there are amazing ways to regulate that, comprehensive data privacy reform, other things like that. But nobody wants to talk about any of that. They just want to say ban social media, for kids under 18.
To become a prominent creator, the ingredients are like sit with your phone and just be ready to make videos like at the drop of a hat?
I think there's a few different ways to be a content creator, right? You have the sort of bottom of the barrel, exactly what you just described. And that's
Mhm.
actually how a lot of the most successful content creators started. And then you have people that evolve a little bit more. Like sometimes they'll start with virality, but they'll use that initial virality to pivot into more organic and interesting content or analysis. Or they start developing actually quite a bit of knowledge about the fashion world that they might not have previously had. And then they use that to inform their audience. You do have to kind of have a knack for storytelling and keeping people engaged, like, and basically be a very creative and engaging person. And those things are not always compatible with being the best journalist or reporter.
Charisma.
Yeah, you got to have Riz, I guess, as
Yeah.
the kids would
Excuse
say.
me. Excuse me. I'm not up to date on all the lingo. And there some creators who are chosen by these platforms to appear more? Like, wasn't there some reporting that TikTok was kind of putting its thumb on the scale of certain people that they liked?
Yeah, Instagram has done this for a long time.
That's
I
what I've
mean,
heard from
yeah, all
fashion
these
people
platforms.
that like Instagram will tell them like, "Oh, like we want you to post more and if you do it, like we'll give you a boost."
Yeah, and then they let certain creators into their beta program for Reels or whatever, which boosts them higher and gets them more engagement. These platforms absolutely play favorites and they downrank people they don't like. So if you're trying to kind of build your own audience, you're up against this sort of group of content creators that are very corporation friendly. They're usually ones that are like, they're going to be pro Instagram, right? Like Instagram's not going to boost content creators that are critical of them or critical of their systems or critical of the tech industry and things like that. So it's frustrating, but all social platforms do that, unfortunately.
Yeah. What is a good measure of success for a creator these days? Are people still following each other?
So I think TikTok, with its focus on the For You page and just algorithmic distribution generally, really broke this idea of like followers as a primary metric. So followers on TikTok are not necessarily correlated to reach very much. It's sort of just this like vanity metric. And that's becoming increasingly true actually on Instagram and YouTube, especially as well, where distribution in the feed matters so much more than how many subscribers or followers you have. And that's also increasingly true on Twitter. I think, especially for content creators, it's really hard because you can't sort of count on some baseline level of engagement anymore. You're constantly playing for the algorithm and you have to optimize yourself increasingly more and more for the algorithm.
Did you call yourself a creator?
Yeah, I call myself a journalist and content creator. I feel like I'm both.
Journalist creator. Yeah, I guess I would call myself a journalist creator.
So much has been written about like the death of like critics and culture and stuff. But
Yeah.
I think we're seeing that across, like, I mean, not only is it being criticism being gutted and like deprioritized on an institutional level, but like on social media as well. Like, if you're a fashion influencer and you want to get ahead there, you're just not going to alienate these brands that you want to work with. You just aren't going to talk badly about it. You aren't going to criticize these tech platforms very much because you rely on them to make a living. And so you're sort of just beholden to all these corporate interests at all times.
People keep saying AI is going to change my life, and it frankly hasn't changed my life in any I don't know, it doesn't help me that much. Is
Yeah,
there a
it's not that
future in which,
good.
like, it's gonna help us make this content, these videos?
Yeah, it will. It's not there yet. It's not ready yet, but it's getting better and it does help in some ways, but it will get there. I think at that point, unfortunately, that's just going to lower the bar for entry even more and flood the ecosystem with even more content creators, which will raise the bar even higher and higher in terms of production quality and what performs. And so I think that that's going to be a challenge because your videos have to look better and better and better every year. It's just a lot for content creators to keep up with. I stopped learning how to edit in like 2018. That's why I can only do like a slow zoom, and like Premiere, things like that. But today, like consumers expect this much higher quality video.
But what do you mean it's gonna be, like, higher quality? Like, is everything gonna look like a movie or like a
Yeah.
produced news segment?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at a YouTube video from 2007, right, and compare a YouTube video now, you can see that there is a evolution in terms of editing style, in terms of production quality, the camera quality, the audio quality. It's all significantly better. Look at a TikTok from 2020 versus the average successful TikTok today. Maybe TikTok's a bad example because there's a lot of like raw user content on there, but Instagram is probably better, right? Like a lot of these people that perform really well on Instagram, they're doing a lot of creative video editing. And that's just hard for people to do. It's time consuming. You have
Time
to,
consuming.
you know, but you can't post like you would in 2013 or your videos will get no engagement. Like you can't just have
Yeah.
like white text on the screen. Like, you need movement, you need cuts, you need to understand the language of filmmaking. And that is really hard to do. And that's a skill also that a lot of people just don't have.
To your point about this, in the 2010s, we had a different group of influencers who were popular. They weren't like the talking heads or the like more thought leadery ones. They were the aesthetic influencers who like
Yeah.
people like Michelle Phan. I don't know. We had
She
like
got really into
aesthetic.
Bitcoin. She was the makeup.
Really?
Yeah, she got really crypto pilled. I think she's probably really rich now too. If she got into Bitcoin at the right time. But so many of those early influencers burned out and crashed out. Um,
Like they're
and just made
gone.
a
I
lot of
mean,
money.
some of them have had longevity.
I feel like there's this like upper echelon of 1%er influencers that are timeless, that are huge, that have their platform and sort of will always have their platform no matter what comes and goes. And then you have the influencers that kind of came to prominence off specific features or off specific like meta trends in the influencer world. Like the YouTube prank vloggers, I think of this, right? Like
Okay,
they
yeah.
became very popular in the mid to late 2010s. Now pranking fell out of favor. Like now other things are popular. Then you had the daily vloggers that became popular. And now you have like shorts creators that are blowing up and the AI creators now and you have to keep evolving and people burn out. I mean, 99% of the time when you go to look at like why an influencer disappeared, they literally just burned out.
They just decided I don't want to do it anymore.
They just had like a mental health crisis, you know?
Okay. Hmm.
Or
Yeah.
just like can't they just cannot do it. It's a really stressful, horrible job and you're getting what? Like financially, it's really hard to make it.
I want you to talk about that too. What is the business model for influencing now? In
Well,
fashion specifically, if you can,
yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean,
go there.
advertising is still a huge part of it. I think brands especially are less focused. Like they're, well, one, they want more performance marketing. So you have a lot of brands doing affiliate, which affiliate's always been big, but it's like really big now. And you have them doing these sort of like long-term, deeper partnerships around like products. So like the big thing now is to launch your own product or to collaborate on a product or a line or whatever in like a deeper way so that it doesn't just feel like you're paying. Like, remember, was it 2017 when they relaunched the saddlebag, or 2018, the Christian Dior saddlebag, and they
Yeah.
sent it to like 100 influencers, and then the influencers just posted it, and then everyone had it, and then all the other influencers were buying the bag to act like they got the partnership. Like, they used to do all this
Yeah.
gifting and just like blast things out. Maybe they still do, but I feel like they're like somewhat smarter in the sense that they recognize there's just so many people in the market. They want to partner with the right people. And you have them trying to hop on the meme marketing thing of we want to participate in whatever viral sort of meta trend is going on TikTok. Like we want to be part of it. From a brand standpoint, if there's something that's like a trend on TikTok, like the advent calendar thing, it's like, oh, what's our strategy here? Should we copy this thing? Or was it last year too where everyone was breaking the products like, oops, I dropped it. And then that went really viral. Like it was
I
like
missed that. I feel like I shouldn't have, but I did. Maybe because
it
I
was
was
people
finishing my
being
book.
like, yeah, I think it was like a Chanel Christmas ornament or something, and somebody had it and then smashed it, and then everyone was like, "Oh, she intentionally smashed it for the views, obviously," and then everyone was like smashing things. That was just like this like meta trend, but you just see influencers do things like
Yes,
that.
but to your point, because it's holiday time, after the Chanel advent calendar, which was ridiculous. And
Mhm.
for those who don't know what we're talking about, that was like where Chanel had a beauty advent calendar, but it was made of cardboard and was shaped like a perfume bottle. And the items inside were crap. It was like, do you remember what it was like stickers?
Yeah,
But it
it was
cost like more than
garbage.
$600, which by today's luxury prices seems low. But then Dior did an advent calendar I think it was the next year, and it was like $3,000. And creator bought that. And then she was posting about it every day, and she went super viral from that.
Yeah. The advent calendar, like meta, is still a really big thing. There's a lot of them now. But I think it's this like anticipation and this weekly. Back in the day, in the 2010s, you had this thing called Vlogmas where people would like vlog every single day, like sort of leading up to Christmas. And I think you see that. The holidays are such a huge time for e commerce. A lot of people make a significant amount of their income leading up to the holidays. So it's this huge like push no matter what sort of type of content creator you are.
The
Yeah.
rose sample sale, did you see it?
No. Wait, I
Oh,
don't think I did. What was it?
it's funny. If you have time and you want to laugh, just go to TikTok and type in the Row sample sale. So the Row had a sample sale in New York, and it became like a viral sensation because people line up for overnight. It wasn't as cold as it is now, but people were lining up overnight and hiring line sitters to stay in their spot for like hours for buying stuff and they were making videos. And a lot of them were like, oh my God, like I went to the Rose sample sale and I got these pants and they're only $800 and they're just plain pants.
Oh my
So
God.
I just want your take on this because the row is supposed to be like too good to be online. Like they don't even let you
Yeah.
have your cell phone out at the show. Not that I'm not going to the show, but that's what's reported every season now. And then they went viral and then people made parodies that were hysterical of the haul vlogs because these clothes just, for the most part, looked either normal or just not really so great. And people were buying like flip flops. Like, I got these black leather flip flops or just these black flip flops, and they're only $200.
This reminds me of the 2000s, of this obsession with the brand where like people just want like the brand on things or whatever. I went to the Balenciaga sample sale recently, or like, I don't know, it was like 8 or 9 months ago. I don't know. And it was the same thing. People were buying the most, I was like, this stuff is crap with all due. Now I'm never going to get invited back to it. But it was like kind of similar where I was like, I don't know, do you need those like socks that look totally normal, but it's like they want the brand. I think it's really funny that that's happening to the row because like you said, I feel like that's a brand that seems like it's all above, it's like this like fancy brand that's just
Too
like
good for
elevated
that shit.
basics, like too good for it. Yeah, it's
Like,
not like Balenciaga, it's like a stunt like brand. You know what I mean?
People
like
are paying thousands and like so much money for that stuff because it's too good for it. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
that's what people are buying into is that like, oh, like you can't tell what it is, but it's the row, but like
It's
you
the
can't tell what
quiet
it
luxury thing. But they like, I still think that that is, to me, that is like the same as buying one of those like Louis Vuitton Neverfull things with the logo all over it. Like you're still obsessed with the logo, even if it's just for you. Like you still want that logo on there on the inside of your cashmere sweater or whatever because you care about the logo. Like, I
Yeah.
don't know.
But I guess my real question for you is what happened with the sample sale is antithetical to the brand, but they
Yeah.
can't control that, right?
No. And I think that that's just increasingly true for all of these fashion brands is they can't control their images tightly and that drives them insane and that's why they do all these stupid things to try to control it. But they can't. They just can't because it's like this crowdsourced sort of social media vibe that determines ultimately a brand. And that's true for just all corporations these days. I think it's just really hard for fashion brands because the high fashion ones, at least, they're always sort of trying to position themselves as elevated, right? Sort of elite and like a little bit removed from social media. And this is why when social media started, they were kind of really hesitant to like, it seemed tacky a little bit. And so they would do these stupid Instagram grids that were really boring. They would do the 9 grid thing that just had their logo or whatever, they wouldn't like lean into it.
Some of them still do that. When
God.
Gwyneth Paltrow launched her new clothing brand Gwyn at Fashion Week, that's what she did. It was like
What?
a new Instagram. Yeah.
It's like the most
So like one square is like
2014 thing I've
a
ever
piece
heard.
of a G, and then the next one is the next piece of the G.
Which is like terrible in the feed. Like that is insane that that's still happening.
I think she's stuck in the 2010s. Her
Well,
brand and like
That's
herself.
True. Her brand is very 2010s. Yeah.
Frankly. Also with the row. Someone wrote this viral open letter to the row.
I miss this drama. I really pride myself on like seeing all drama
all
on
the online
TikTok.
dramas. You
'Cause
can
I love
easily
it.
catch up. It's not
Okay,
it's
I
not
need to
hard to
go.
like it's not like Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni where you've really got to like study.
I'm up on that. I am up on that. That's
That'll be
what I
another
have been
pod.
dedicated.
We're going to do that another time
because
I could talk about that forever. This is by Neelam Ahuja. Her Substack is Neelam Noted. I'll throw this link in the show notes, but it's called Open Letter to the Row. We need to break up. She talks about how the brand didn't really support her supporting them, if that makes sense.
Hey.
Like she was buying it and talking about it online. And she says that the row got in the way of her talking to the Wall Street Journal about her fandom.
What?
Yeah, let me read this part. You tried to control me, to dictate my work, to downplay what I'd built, and all the while you profited from my efforts. But the hardest part was that you became increasingly and unforgivably rude. Your charm was beguiling and performative, a supple, leather-gloved kind of control.
It's weird. Wait, how were they trying? Wait, oh my God, look at this. Is so much engagement.
Yes, people said, like a lot of people were like, Amy, you have to read this. I haven't really waded into this conversation.
I mean,
but
don't you feel like this could be written about any fashion brand? Like,
yes.
Like they're all like that.
Yes. Well, this is why I do my newsletter. This is why I'm back row. I'm wearing my merch today just because I was feeling dumpy. But not that this is dumpy, but Yeah, this is why it's back row, because I hate this idea that fashion is you just have to be in the club and it's elite and nobody can talk about it or be involved in it. Like I kind of like hate that the snobbery of it. So yeah, to expect anything else from a brand that prides itself that is selling snobbery as blatantly as the row is, I don't really understand. But this post sparked a whole conversation about the relationship between brands and influencers or creators and how they're trying to kind of control their images a bit more. Someone told me that Saint Laurent DM'd an Australian creator to be like, stop tagging me, stop tagging us.
Wait, what? They did? That's so
Yeah,
funny. Well, I wrote about this in my book about like fake ads because that has been a problem for a lot of luxury brands is people doing fake ads where they pretend to have the sponsorship and they actually buy the product and then unbox it like it's a
right.
gift. But you can never acknowledge that. When I was writing my book, I talked to like one brand person who was like, "We hate it. Like we untag them from our, tagged photos, but like we to acknowledge them would be to give them so much clout, so that's crazy, like, to actually reach out.
And say,
Wouldn't that person
stop tagging us.
Yeah, because if that influencer was smart, they would make it into, like, content, although maybe they
Well,
would
I
be
think they
embarrassed by
did,
it.
but they just put it in
Yeah,
stories. And so it went away. And I unfortunately didn't see it. I would have loved to see it.
staying.
It's like they're trying to control it, but they can't, right? Can they?
No, I it's
Is
a
there
losing
any amount of
battle.
money that they can deploy to control it?
No, I think that everything is subject to online opinion, to sort of, like, public opinion now. I think they can definitely, like, mitigate it, but ultimately you're dealing with the masses and the public and they seem to have this like hostile and resentful relationship with the public, I guess because they didn't previously have to deal with the public for like most of their existence. I guess they come with this sort of like resentful attitude towards it, or like a you'd be lucky to be here kind of attitude towards these people.
Right.
And I just think that that's a losing game. Like brands that do that, they're not gonna, that maybe will work short term, but long term, you need to figure out how your brand can operate in our modern information and media ecosystem.
Yeah, I think my take for creators is like, if you build your life around trying to be in the club and be accepted by brands, you will only set yourself up for a disappointment.
Well, you're just giving them the power. And what's the point of being a content creator? Like, this is just how I feel about the tech stuff too, is it's like, what's the point of being an independent person if you can't say what you think and do whatever you want, you know? If you're still at the beholden to these like institutional powers, whether they're corporate brands or media companies, like what then you're not really that independent. They can cut you off. Case in point with the row, girl, like they can cut you off at any time and you lose your influence. And if your influence comes from sitting front row, getting access, being invited to these things, making content, they hold the power. You don't hold the power.
I think of people, honestly, I mean, I wouldn't call him an influencer, but Andre Leontali,
Yeah.
who gave his everything he had to fashion and had, I think, a lot of hurt. And, Anna Wintour really hurt him because one day, it's like one day you're in and the next day you're out. And that happened with him and it hurt him. And I think that if you set your life up like that and you live for this world and just want to be on the inside, like you are only going to end up hurt and disappointed. The only person who has lasted, the only one is Anna Wintour. One
But she's
person.
going away. She's gone. She's
She's
becoming
not gone.
irrelevant.
No, she's
Really?
not going away. I think no.
How old is that lady?
She recently turned 76. She's 76 now. But according to my recent reporting, she stepped back from being editor in chief of Vogue. But what that really meant is that she was passing off the magazine on someone else so she could do other projects.
Vogue itself is not as relevant as it was 15 years ago. I would
No.
argue. I think these people's cultural power is declining. Maybe she has 10 more years left in her, but she's old. If you tell a Zoomer today or like a 13-year-old, like they're just not idolizing. I mean, look at the reaction to the Devil Wears Prada. Like, I get that in the fashion world, she's this like big deal, but I think in broader culture, that brand is declining. And I think the relevance is
Vogue.
declining. Also, she's tied herself to all these evil people that the tide is
Yeah.
turning against. I just don't see her becoming more and more relevant. I think she's declining. She's a sinking ship. If you are worried about Anna Wintour, it's like you're chaining yourself to the Titanic.
I want to get your take on legacy media. Like, is there anything they can do to be more relevant? Because I see media brands, I'm sure you see this too, having their editors do like talking head videos. But to me, people don't want to connect with Vogue necessarily in that way. They would rather that editor just post on their own feed in the way that people probably like to connect with us because we're individual people and it just makes sense. But when Vogue does it, it's like weird.
It's weird and it feels like degrading. I feel that way with the New Yorker. I love the New Yorker. I love everyone there. But like sometimes I see them like posting their people and I'm like, okay, I know they made you do this. I know they made you do this. But it's fine. I mean, look, I love the New Yorker. That's not what I go to them for, is like short form video content. I feel that way probably about Vogue, of like, it's this brand. I don't know how they can save themselves. I think a lot of these legacy fashion media brands are just, it's managed decline with all of them. Maybe they can pivot into some e-commerce thing, or I don't know. I don't know enough about that business, but they're certainly not going to be more relevant in 10 years than today.
Well, did you read the Wall Street Journal article about Vogue World?
Oh my God, yes, because I had friends that were there and it was the most random thing alive. Like, what even was that?
But it was the third, I think the third one. No, the fourth one.
They were inviting a lot of random ass people to that. Okay, what?
Who?
For what?
Wait, who?
Just like random people in LA were there, like random ass people that were like got an invite to it.
It is random, but that's their big thing that like they're doing to like be relevant.
Okay, well, clearly they needed people to come because in LA, when people were like, oh, I'm going to this Vogue World thing, like, does anyone want to come kind of energy? Like,
really?
There was random people there. I'm telling you, maybe they were the ones that were stuffing the rafters in the back where they needed like a random screenwriter friend that just like was like happened to be around. Like, I don't know. Maybe that's just also just like event stuff. The Met's like that too, whatever, right? Like there's always some random like, or I guess the Met like invite list is very curated, but you know how it is.
It's pretty hard
carpet,
to get into the Met.
The Met, you're right. The Met is really hard to get into, but I feel like on the red carpet of the Met, they've increasingly like let like TikTokers on there, and like I feel like it's not as hard. I remember when I worked at People magazine, it was like a big deal to get to cover the Met, and now I feel like they're letting a lot more people like on that red carpet area at least.
Yeah, I covered the Met red carpet when I was at New York Magazine, and you would stand behind. They make it look beautiful now, and there's maybe like fake flowers sort of as a barricade between you and the stars, and like behind the fake flowers is like trash, and you can't leave, not even to go to the bathroom. Do you remember that?
No, I never got to cover it.
Maybe it was different. Oh, you never went.
No. That was the point. It was like too like VIP, and now like they're like places that I've worked at since are like, oh great, we'll send like 4 people to go, post from it or whatever. We need a social video person.
It's a hard red carpet because the stars don't really stop and talk unless you have a big camera, and even then they don't talk to you that long, and you have to stand and you can't leave.
Yeah, it sounds miserable. That's not.
And then if Rihanna shows up 3 hours late, you got to just fucking stand there and wait for her.
This is why I cover tech.
I know people are like, don't complain about like going to the Met, but it's like, it's just like standing there and waiting, and like, it's not easy to cover red carpet, as you know. I know there's way worse things to do, but still, it's.
Well, I'm sorry for besmirching Vogue World or whatever that was, but.
No, Vogue World doesn't make any sense to me. It doesn't make any sense to the audience.
Cool.
No, it doesn't make any sense to the audience.
Yeah, I don't.
It's a fashion variety show.
Yeah, cool. Good luck to them on that.
No, but it's like video content. I think that the strategy at Condé Nast is like, oh, we'll just make we'll just come up with ways to create video content for social media, and that's going to save our business. I really think that that's a strategy. Is that a strategy?
Not a winning one, because they're competing with everyone else on the internet, and they're not as good at it, and they're not personality driven. But then they have like Anna Wintour is able to get people to sponsor it, like eBay, and I don't know. Like she's not cool. She's like with old rich people. Like I just don't see it. I don't know. I don't see that being a long-term strategy for them.
Oh, The Devil Wears Prada too. What did you think of the trailer?
It looks like, I don't know. This whole magazine world is so weird because I feel like even I interned at Harper's Bazaar I think it was 2007. And that was like, I remember being like, oh, you guys are so old. You don't even have a blog. The website wasn't even on. And that was like, I remember being like, that was almost 20 years ago we're talking about, okay? That is crazy. That world was dead already back then. And now we're 20 years later and they're trying to act like it's a thing. Like they should have said it in like 1995.
Wait, they should have what?
They should have like if they want to make
Set
another
it,
like
set it,
set
set
it.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I wish it was like more of a prequel or something. Cause I feel like
That would be
now, like making
cool.
it more modern, like it feels weird. It's like this doesn't exist.
Yeah, I will say, having written a book about Anna Wintour, the coolest part of her life, well, I think the best part of any biography is the beginning,
Mm.
the origin
Yeah.
story. And she came of her adolescence was in swinging London.
That's cool. I would watch
That's
something about I'm sure
interesting.
she was like cool back in the day, and
She
I'm
was
sure
really cool.
that's why
Yeah,
she is who she is. She's like an
exactly.
icon for sure.
Going back to influencers and creators, what is the key to longevity? Is it possible to have longevity? Like, can you control that? Because, like, as we were saying, like the aesthetic influencers went away. There's a few that are still really big and influential. But, like, can you game it?
I think that you just have to adapt to the medium in a really intense way if you're a full-time content creator because you're so dependent on it. Or like you're so dependent on the changes that these platforms make, right? Like Instagram's pivot from photos to video to, short form video in the form of reels. Like you have to be able to adapt to that and evolve your content or take it from static images to Instagram stories where suddenly you need to program for that. So you just really need to understand the changing language of the video driven internet and kind of evolve to that and also understand the changing monetization landscape, the business landscape, all of that stuff. So it's hard. I mean, you're basically running your own small media company and it's really, really difficult. A lot of these people that are content creators are very skilled marketers, copywriters, editors, whatever. So many of them, they burn out of being a content creator and then they just go to do that or they work for someone else or they go like their lives don't end. You know what I mean? A lot of them also decide that they don't like the fame aspect of it, which is really hard to deal with if they get a lot of attention or criticism. And so they sort of just drill in on whatever they're into and they sort of step back from the public eye because it's so hard to be a public popular content creator because the nature of fame is inherently sort of transient.
Yeah, and you mean because people are just leaving shitty comments all the time and
The public wants something new all the time. So then they associate you. If you get too big too quickly, they associate you with a specific time period of the internet. So like I mean, I think Emma Chamberlain has had this problem and she's evolved a little bit from it, but like she's very associated with mainstreaming the specific style of YouTube. And then it's like you have to constantly reinvent yourself so that that they feel like you're changing with the times. Otherwise, you start to seem stale.
yeah.
So I just think it's hard.
What do you make of Becca Bloom?
I mean, she's popular now. I think she's so rich. Like she doesn't need to do content, but it is interesting to see someone that is so rich, like doing that content. But I love it's fun to like see that a peek into that world.
She's
And
really great she's appealing. No, I like her videos.
yeah,
I happily watch her videos.
me too.
Her
The
stack
wedding,
or like
everything.
feeding her
Yeah.
cat or whatever.
Yeah.
What do you make of the obsession with business content? Like, I guess an example of this would be Hailey Bieber's Rhode,
Mhm.
when she sold it to Elf Cosmetics and a deal valued at $1 billion. Then, like, everyone was like, well, here's what this means for like the beauty industry, or like, here's why she did it. Do you know what I'm saying?
Okay. I call it capitalism slop because that's what it is to me,
Oh my
where
God.
it's just like, wow, how this business went from X to X, how this brand was transformed, whatever, whatever. And it's like, who are you even talking to? I mean, I guess you're selling hustle bullshit. You're no better than 15-year-olds on Instagram with their drop shipping stores, in my opinion, because you are just selling aspirational business crap that's slop. I don't not to like hate a lot of these people that make this up. I watch those videos sometimes. You know the CNBC vertical make it? It's like, here's the successful story of the entrepreneurs and how they did it. It's meant to feed this narrative of American capitalism of like anybody can do it. She was so smart. This is how it happened. And that's almost never how it happened. It's really a flattening of the narratives and I think people just like business stories. I mean, this is why if you're a journalist as you know, like for a while there was all this pressure to write like business books, like who's going to write the Peloton book, who's going to write the Soul Cycle book, who's going to write the whatever book. You know, from writing like your books, like everything is messier and more complicated than it seems. Like so many of these celebrity driven brands, like it's just there's such a backstory to so many of these companies that never gets told in the like 90-second TikTok.
Yeah, you can't get into it in that amount of time, but people like this content. Why is that?
It's slop. It's like hustle culture
Hustle
stuff.
slop.
Yeah, hustle slop, I guess.
I'm gonna make that a term. Well, Taylor, thank you so much for coming on the Back Row Pod. Guys, follow Taylor on YouTube at Taylor Lorenz. The newsletter is User Mag, and the podcast is Power User. And I loved your episode that you just did on Sydney Sweeney, so check that out.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me. Hopefully the Anna Wintour fans don't come for me, but it's fine.